Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and in this video I'm going to be going over my top 10 Anima powers for Retribution Paladins in TORGHAST. Now what Anima powers are is special powers that you get in TORGHAST by defeating enemies, breaking open pots, buying a little currency and from the broker that is in the safety zones, I guess you would call them. And you get these Anima powers and they make you much stronger. So I'm going to go through my top 10 favorite ones. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean they're the best. It just means they're my favorite and what the ones that I find to be the most interesting. Some honorable mentions are to the Covenant powers because those are all pretty cool too. But since you won't have the choice of all of them, depending on what Covenant you pick, you're only going to get your Covenant's Anima powers. And then also just to the straight stat increases, I like those as well. So you can get Anima power of just increasing your crit, mastery, versatility, haste, whatever by a flat percentage. And those are actually pretty cool as well. These aren't in necessarily a particular order, but they kind of are. Again, it's just my favorite, my personal favorite though. And some of these are also the strongest ones as well because that's cool. My first two are going to be more of a defensive or utility abilities that I just like to grab for myself. At number 10, we have Soul Steel Hasp. The cooldown of Divine Shield is reduced by 60%. Now, I'm doing this on the beta, so my gear is not very good. It's just the fresh template gear. Some of the boss enemies can really hit hard. I like to do big pulls. I'm Kyrian, so I have Divine Toll. I like to do big pulls, AoE, and with bad gear, the damage can really rack up on you. So having more Divine Shields is really good if you like to play that way, and that's why that one comes in, even though it's a defensive ability. Next, we have Soul Touch Spurs at number 9. Divine Steed duration increased by 2 seconds. So, as all these anima powers, they stack, right? So you can get multiples of the same one. So 2 seconds isn't much, but if you get 2 or 3 of these, that's very helpful. As you go higher and higher in Torghast, this becomes more and more helpful. You could possibly get lost, for example, and need to you're trying to do this in a certain amount of time. You're not under dire straits, but you're trying to do this in a certain amount of time. And so Divine Steed is your movement ability. So having that last longer is actually pretty cool. And I've had like 3 stacks, and with like 3 stacks of this, you're on your horse or whatever your race is mount. You're on that for quite a while, and it's actually pretty nice. Uh, at number 8, is Ring of Unburdening. So abilities cost 1 fewer holy power. So instead of costing 3, essentially, they cost 2. Unless you are playing the current version of the Necrolord's ability, which I think might change before it goes live, which costs 1 holy power. So I guess that would cost 0 holy power in that case. So generally your ability is just going to cost 2 holy power instead. This actually works out pretty nicely. Because of the fact like Wake of Ashes becomes a lot more powerful then, because it's almost like it gives you 4 holy power instead of 3. For me, it feels pretty good, and again, that's why it's one of my favorite. It's not natural, of course, to do that, but it kind of feels like in retail when you have the one essence on your neck that can give you 1 holy power back or more. It kind of feels a lot like that, so it hasn't really bothered me too much, and I've liked it because it does kind of feel like my retail paladin with that one. Coming in at number 7, we have Highlords Ultimatum. This is Gain the Divine Purpose talent. So why I like this one, Divine Purpose isn't a super strong talent, but what this lets you do is, let's say you already had Divine Purpose anyways, it lets you choose another talent in that row. So that's a row full of good damage talents, right? So now you get Divine Purpose on top of everything else. Now this is very similar to I think it was a ring, I want to say, in Legion, but there's an item in Legion that kind of did the same thing, and you gain Divine Purpose, and so now you have that proc chance with a talent that's guaranteed to work for you whenever you use it. So I really like the Highlords Ultimatum for that reason. It's just more pure damage. It's a good talent row to have 2 talents in. Coming up next at number 6, we have Winged Ultimatum. Gain Avenging Wrath for the first 30 seconds of each floor. Now, this is one that's not super strong on its own, but again, it stacks really well. I actually had 4 stacks of this once, so I had 2 minutes on every floor. If you're using the badge or the Mad Paragon legendary, which will probably be the first one you want to craft, however, it doesn't drop until the last boss in the first raid. This extends your Avenging Wrath when you use Hammer of Wrath. So, starting with 30 seconds is great. Use a Hammer of Wrath, keep extending it, and it's basically like a free wings. You can clear the first room or two with this on, and again, when you stack it up, you can actually, especially in the lower levels, you can probably clear about the whole level just by continuing to extend it and just keep pulling, chain pulling with your Avenging Wrath active. Coming in at number 5, we have Small Smooth Spike. Hammer of Wrath has 4 charges. Now this one's really cool for the same reason. So let's say you have that legendary, and there'll be another one, another Anima power later that this one works well with. So having more charges of the Hammer of Wrath will then extend your Avenging Wrath even more. So I like the synergy of that. I like to just have wings up all the time if possible. I made it Ineffable Truth build on retail BFA, and having wings up all the time just feels really good. So having 4 charges of this, you can increase your Avenging Wrath or Crusade by a pretty good amount of time there. Coming up next, we have Shattered Gauntlet. Hammer of Wrath deals 60% increased damage. Now, Hammer of Wrath is already a very important rotational ability, as it does a good amount of damage anyways. So, since you're prioritizing it even more, if that's even possible, by having these other traits to extend your Avenging Wrath, the extra damage for it is even better. And again, this can stack up, so you can feel free to take more of these. Coming up next, we have Golden Plume. The effects of Avenging Wrath are increased by 100%. So, and Crusade, it works a little bit differently if you have Crusade talent. Each stack of your Crusade is increased by a certain amount. But generally speaking, it just buffs your wings, right? And obviously this is really good, right? It doubled the damage during wings, and so that's really good. Coming up at number 2, and this one should probably be number 1, but I have a reason for my number 1, is Badge of the Mad Paragon. So this is the legendary that I was talking about from the last boss in the raid. Is where you'll be able to learn how to do this legendary, and this is basically the same thing. Hammer of Wrath extends Avenging Wrath by 4 seconds. So this Anima power mixed with the legendary will super extend your Avenging Wrath, which now you have, if you got the Small Smooth Spike, a little bit of alliteration there, you have 4 charges on it. You're doing increased damage through the Shattered Gauntlet. You're just hammer wrathing everything and just having constant wings up, and it is very nice, and I definitely recommend it to everyone as long as it stays working the way it currently does. Coming in at number 1 for me, I have an actual, these Anima powers are in tiers. Like there's common or uncommon, green, blue, purple, essentially, right? So the way gear works, essentially. And so the purple ones are generally more strong, and the green ones are generally more blah. But this Ancient Writ of the Order is a green one that's actually really good because it stacks. And it's just particularly good because, you can get it in any case. So holy power spending abilities are 30% more effective. So when you click on an Anima orb, it's going to randomly generate what powers pop up. It could be 1 green, it could be 3 greens, it could be a green and a blue, it could be 3 purples, right? Technically, right? So you have this random chance of it to pop up. This one is likely to pop up quite a bit, and it stacks. So your holy power spending abilities are 30% more effective, so basically 30% more damage on your Verdict and your Divine Storm, which is basically all you use, essentially, besides Wake of Ashes, to do damage. And so it's just super strong, and you could get 4 or 5 stacks of this really easy. If you combine that with an Avenging Wrath, that's 100% more effective. I mean, we're talking major damage there. So that's why it's one of my favorites. It's just very common, and it's an easy one to stack. It's just a very no-brainer one, kind of. And, that's why I love that one. So again, these are just my top 10 favorite. There's a ton of really good ones. There's probably 20 that I actually really like. But, hopefully everyone else kind of enjoys these ones. And I'm sure you'll have your own that you kind of like that aren't necessarily for me and my play style. I plan on playing TORGHAST mostly solo. So for me, it just matters what I like, right, and the way I like to play. And if you plan on playing TORGHAST solo, you can play completely defensive as well. There's Anima powers that increase your health, other defensive ones. And there's all kinds of ways you can play. You can play single target more, whereas I try to go more of a multi-target facet play style. So all kinds of different ways you can do it, and all kinds of cool Anima powers that you can check out once you either get the game or you get a beta invite, or you're already in beta and you just haven't done TORGHAST much. But yeah, so as always, I ask you to subscribe to the channel because that helps me out so much. And other than that, everybody, have a good one.